Now for the third act of today, since we're doing deeds, not words. Naturally, as I've said before, I'm going to close the door. That I'm trying to remain as academic as possible with this, and trying to remove some of my own biases concerning the subject and approaching things historically as it happens, right? With this cross-country checkup, so to speak, because the massive demoralization program that started, I'd say about 20 years ago, immediately thereafter 9/11, which, a target of opportunity was presented by, after the mass trauma, for which was then a lead-in to this other demoralization campaign with the gay pride and with transgenderism as I call it. At first starting through the education institutions and as a means of revenge for persecution of the past to these communities. The Stonewall motherfuckers, as Dave Chappelle says. And I don't even care if I get monetized. I really don't. This isn't about money for me. This is about justice. Okay, justice for the people that are the young children that or young people that I was around that had to go through this stuff in their own homes or within institutions for which people were deemed to be trustworthy and bondable, and then did horrible things to the people under their command or under their power, so to speak. For a demented version of what power is. And again, I'm wearing the Knox Mountain hill climb t-shirt from when I volunteered last year. Now, not all of my views expressed in this video are reflective of Leave It Machinery or the Knox Mountain hill climb, but nonetheless, as a cultural institution within Kelowna, there's some things that stand the test of time, and there's something that there's some things within our biology and our internal motivations that stand through all time, and that we have to respect. We have to respect our bodies, and we can't go through with these surgeries or these spiritual surgeries, so to speak, that reprogram and destabilize already vulnerable people. Because you consider that autism or idiot savantism had a different classification and different understanding. For many years, up until the late 90s, there wasn't really any support. This happened to me, right? With the education system, even within the Catholic education system. So when I came, my family moved from Barrie to London, and I came from I don't remember the name of the school, the two schools that I attended in Barrie, but that's small details. And then enrolling at St. Jude's along with my sisters, that things were starting to change for the negative, and the usage of pharmaceuticals and the approach to education. So the pedagogy was changing gradually, and by institutional pressures to obviously get people within a certain behavior for which was thought to be conducive to learning. And as I've said in other videos, the behavior and the influence of people within positions of authority, so teachers, police officers, the typical role models of society that children look up to, say like firefighters, EMTs, doctors, lawyers, the higher status people at that time, or pilots, CEOs, entertainers, right? All of these people which have had their hands on the knitting the fabric together of our cultural fabric, right? Because it takes a village to raise a child. It's not an individual effort to bring about self efficacy and identity. Just going about this as much as I understand it, especially within the church. That's why I'm wearing this Knox T-shirt, because as I referred to in one of my first videos having to do with progressive Christianity, you look at the Anglican and the Presbyterian churches, and they were very much accepting out the get-go. So Knox Presbyterians specifically. So and then they're having too much progressive liberal ideology within some of these churches, which has led to the exploitation and then the perversion of sexuality that has just absolutely ransacked and eviscerated the society and our bonds of social trust. And it's no wonder because it was a response from having a too rigid and too Catholic idealism of what sexuality is supposed to be. And again, as a sex positive Christian, creation is godly, right? We're supposed to have children. We're supposed to have good relationships, and good relationships include sex, right? It includes intimacy. It includes transparency. All the things for which I'm trying to communicate, and that a lot of people, just weren't listening. And again, you have to deal with this onslaught of the technology and the digital frontier. And as I put this out there, as I've said before in many other videos, because I know people are watching, right? There's no doubt in my mind that people are watching these things because of the unique Canadian perspective that people don't hear very often. It's just like, okay, Canada doesn't have a culture. Well, here I am, a product of my culture. In a product of my upbringing with, being, if we're going to go through the bona fides again in all of these videos, with growing up Pentecostal in Barrie, and then being part of LGT, so London Gospel Temple here in London. And then, I got frustrated specifically, as many other youth did, because, I was getting into cadets, and having come from Scouts, and I wanted something a little bit more military. I was very gung-ho, right? Very much, building my life around the military as much as possible because of, again, more role models, right? More people that stand up for something, or patriotism, and all these things that people say the military manipulates, which fortunately, with propaganda, but for a degree, yeah, that is true, right? There's a history behind that, weaponized artwork, wartime artists, trying to communicate intelligence before, actual physical conflict, because, as that goes, if I'm going to keep bouncing around here and starting, and continuously acting like I'm a schizoid by some people's perceptions, but the difference between someone who's schizoid and someone that's intelligent is basically nothing to the uninitiated, right? And I'm initiated. Thank you very much. I've got a lot of experience around. Again, since not everybody watches all of these videos that I put up here, I have firsthand experience with disabled people and firsthand experience with drug addicts and homeless people. Possibly, prostitution, and I'm firsthand experience myself having gone through this, but by definition, human trafficking, right? Unwilling participant, because of the gig economy and contracting, because it's not exactly what you think it is, right? Everything is the facade of attractiveness. So this is why I look at this the LGBTQ stuff as I can understand why it's so attractive, right? The freedom and self-efficacy of identity and expression, because not everybody expresses themselves through painting or or through the say like the theater or music. Not everybody has the same outlets, and I can understand that. Or like, and then they further with the perceptions of beauty changing with the trends and the culture. Every artistic movement has been a reaction to the previous one, and art is inseparable from life in itself, because art is what it is to be human. It is, and that's the fact of the matter. So if you're going to bounce back to okay, so the demoralization and the infiltration of the church by these people, which has historical value and historical pretext and precipice and what's the not principle the word it doesn't matter anyways of other religions infiltrating Christianity and the Catholic Church to disrupt it because of the amount of power that Christianity actually has, right? One of the things that I was really proud of myself in doing in my time recently in Kelowna while working on aircraft is climbing Knox Mountain, the Apex Trail, from the bottom to the top, right, without stopping. And that's a very huge feat. It's a huge feat, and stomping around in the snow, up and down the mountains without anybody else, without crampons, just trying to push myself as much as I could and as far as I could to keep myself out of seasonal depression, right? It's not to put this down for the record, I do experience, mood swings during the winter, as do many other people in northern climates, and it's a natural reaction to the changing of seasons, because, and obviously other mammals, like say that other mammals hibernate and are not as energetic and are a bit more irritable, and it obviously it correlates to circadian rhythms and exposure to sunlight and vitamin D levels and so on and so forth. But again, never diagnosed, just through self-assessment and in consultation with my doctor. So having a pretext for these things, and knowledge is the key to power, right? When you know thyself, you have actual power, and that's what this cultural movement, right? Has completely hijacked, through ignorance and the erasure of the past of North America. And it's always about the framing everything through the lens of a power struggle. Completely destroys any kind of family identity, and this was always the battle of religious and theological people, trying to focus on the family, so to speak. But having to combat the greed and the lust for money and the lust for power and the failings of capitalism, because there are failings, but it's just a lot of people don't like it, but this is the way it is. Capitalism is one of the best systems that we have, and if it's balanced with a support system, then so under like Canadian style, right, more socialist leanings, with a safety net, is equality and equity of opportunity, but not of outcome, right? When we try to bring everybody to the same level of outcome, then what we end up doing is cutting off the heads of the very best of us, the most talented, the most intelligent, and the most motivated. A lot of people they want to go at and kill rich people. They want to take them down. They want to murder them for the things that they have, and the resources that they have, or they want to kill and take down people in positions in power, such as the police, and defund them and get rid of them and create a power vacuum for anarchy so that they can create their own collectives and then become, the leaders of a new empire, of tribalism and collectivism. But you can see obviously what has happened on the West Coast since these idealisms and these idiocracies, these idiosyncratic idiocracies have arisen out of West Coast liberalism, that the far left, the extreme far left, say like Portland, California, San Francisco. It's well documented, and thereafter the large influx of immigration, from 2016, again from Africa, very much in the same way that the Roman Empire fell with the barbarians, the Germanic tribes, and having been spread too thin. So say like again, these open up opportunities for infiltration and for the usurping of the power structure that is, as much as people don't like it, it works, right? Why would you break something? Why would you fix something that isn't broken? That's the principle of the matter, coming from an engineering standpoint and coming from a mechanic and an artist, right? It takes forever to lay the foundation of something and to get everybody to agree to a social contract or a constitution or a Bill of Rights, confederation, and to a consensus of a shared story. That which is, it's slipping my mind right now, the word. I'm a bit fatigued, obviously. Damn. Okay. Altruism. That's it. Altruistic intention and expression. Obviously influenced by John Stuart Mill and utilitarianism, because you can't have too many minority interests ruling the roost, right? You can't have this massive concentration of power within the culture, and specifically with these people. Unfortunately, the predators get into them, and it's about money, right? Where does the money come from? Where is it going? Que bueno, right? All of these classical inquiries that don't get asked because of this. You can't question me. I'm gay. Fuck you. Don't question me. I'm transgender. Fuck you. Don't question me. I'm queer or I'm two-spirit. But the definition of the goalpost keeps expanding. It keeps expanding. It keeps getting larger and larger, and then all of a sudden you got some man in a clown suit exposing his genitals to children while reading a book in a library. What more is there to say? As the further that we get away from this moral philosophy instead of an ethical philosophy, the more that these moments of exploitation happen, and the more acceptance of the perversion happens. What we can't allow this trauma, and this trauma bonding and this continuous cycle of sleeper agents and splinter cells to continue, because everybody has their own agenda at that point. And this is why if larger bureaucracies spend a lot of time trying to disrupt these movements when they get too large and they get too big to fail, right? Because it becomes a huge problem, because excuse me, well, that's just a stool here. It becomes a problem, right? You kind of wonder when you're younger, why would the police exist? Why do the intelligence agencies exist? Why do the RCMP exist? Why does government exist? Why do we need these things? right? And through these questions, you know, and you learn through your experience with people that you know, without them, then everybody dies. Let's not forget about that. Okay, so you know, and it comes down to behavior and psychology. Again, with the history of propaganda, this being one of these videos, in response to misinterpretations and accusations that have been libeled against me, which I will not tolerate. All right, I will not have any of this shit. I won't sit on it and spin. Right, I'm not gonna watch, you know, my childhood be ruined and the country that I grew up in and all the best parts of it, not through rose-colored glasses, right? But through the lens of life experience. Because I've been around so many different people. I've been around people from around the world, and I've basically traveled across the world and around it, driving just through Canada and the United States. Right? I've been to Greenland. I've been to Scotland. My sisters have been to Europe. You know, and I want to visit other countries in the future because of my interest in history and conflict, and you know, just learning. Because if we don't claim our heritage, then someone else will, and then they'll piss all over it, right? They'll adopt and corrupt our histories for their own purposes, because you know, they don't want you to have an identity. They don't want you to have community. They don't want you to have an expression of who you are, right? And they don't want you to claim that you have an ethnicity. You know, say like me, right? Like I'm Caucasian, right? My heritage being from Northern Europe itself, with like a finger of native, whatever, right? Because that's power. Knowledge is the key to power. That's what I learned in cadets and with the military, you know. So, hence my, you know, my frustrations in one of the previous videos. And now that I actually got the attention that I was looking for, you know, I can ease off and we can work together again. Because, you know, just the abuses of power are not to be tolerated, right? When grooming happens of children and of young people through summer camps, through youth programs, through the education system, through university, and you know, you just watch it all fade away. So I'm looking at this article, and you know, obviously I watch a lot of different channels and internet postings and different news outlets to try and gander a concept and a view of the world that is as objective as possible, right? Like I can't remove my feelings all the time, because it's just nearly impossible. You have to approach and give humanity to people, and understand that you know, the positions in which people become hateful and they become angry is because they've been hurt and they've been excluded, and they you know, they don't feel represented. And this is the truth of the matter. All right, so getting into this. Right, you know, I don't encourage these behaviors. It's not a lifestyle that you want. You know, just there's a lot of you know, negativity involved with it. You know, whether you like it or not, these are not desirable lifestyles. You know, these are maladaptive coping mechanisms by my amateur assessment for undealt with childhood traumas and so on and so forth within that guise. So, you know, what conversion therapy was banned in Canada So this was in, this is Bill C4, tabled in the House of Commons December 6, 2021. So would amend the criminal code to prohibit certain activities that relate to conversion therapy, which is defined as a practice, treatment, or service designed to change a person's sexual orientation to heterosexual, change a person's gender identity to cisgender, change a person's gender expression so that it conforms to the sex assigned to the person at birth, repress or reduce non-heterosexual attraction or sexual behavior, repress a person's non-cisgender identity, or repress or reduce a person's gender expression that does not conform to the sex assigned to the person at birth. You know, I'm not going to read the rest of it. You can, this is public record off of justice.ca, justice.gc.ca/eng/csj, charter C4-1. Okay. Because it's behavioral, right? There's always that question of, you know, nature versus nurture. But, you know, you think about Kinsey, and Kinsey was not a good person. And Foucault was not a good person either. These people are not role models. They're not examples for which to form a basis of psychotherapy, or, you know, the formation of the identity and the person. You know, if you really look into the information behind these people, and they were not good people. They were not good people. They were convinced that what they were doing was for science. But, you know, it's, as it goes with many different things, they spent so much time asking the question, how do we do it, and not enough time asking the question, should we do it? Right. The next one is going to be, this is off of Springer Link, which is rapid onset gender dysphoria. Parent reports on 1,655 possible cases. So this is by Susanna Diaz and J. Michael Bailey from the Archives of Sexual Behavior, 2023. So this is you know, very recent. And the abstract is as follows. During the past decade, there has been a dramatic increase in adolescents and young adults complaining of gender dysphoria. One influential, if controversial, explanation is that the increase reflects a socially contagious syndrome, so rapid onset gender dysphoria, or, you know, mass psychosis, which I've cited as being my definition in previous other videos, you know, being you know, encouraged and exacerbated by, especially with young women, of birth control, antidepressants, and substance abuse, right? Not having the adaptive coping mechanisms and support systems in place that are required, right? Like not having a good family, not having a good social group, not having anyone to talk to, and there not being any resources, right? As a, you know, if you're going to go from the sociological perspective, you know, having correlation, not causation, by Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So their basic needs are not being met, and therefore they cannot think about what else is actually going on, which is a means of manipulation, actually within the education system, with the foreknowledge of young psychology of young people and child psychology, and you know, the exploitation of young people by the education system of universities and colleges in North America, and then spreading further to other institutions. You know, again, pump them out and indoctrinate them. You know, let's get rid of this. Let's try and instate a utopia. Well, not having ever experienced communism themselves, or, you know, complete and utter obliteration of cultural identities. Again, as revenge, or, you know, justice out of white guilt, or, you know, the idea of privilege. and so on and so forth. But one person's struggle is not any more value than someone else's, right? This is a fallacy, right? To say and to state for the record that say for a historical record that what I went through is more traumatic and more important than someone else's life experiences, because again, it just ain't true, right? It just ain't true. We all go through problems. We all have our own issues, and through the years, thankfully, with the visibility and with the improvements of technology, that the communication aspect and the softening, so to speak, which was the removing of the hard edge, and understanding of PTSD and other mental issues, and away from just throwing people into insane asylums and giving them shock therapy and throwing away the key, right? Or you think about the origins of MK Ultra and the way that was used as a possibility for therapy, but through the idealism of I think we're helping people, but they're not actually helping people. It was from my understanding was meant to deal with PTSD and help soldiers readjust to civilian life, but it was experimented and used upon the public so as to affect negatively, right? I say affect, not effect, an outcome which was desirable for a certain faction within the intelligence communities. Thinking that within the Cold War era of interlopers and infiltrators, sleeper agents, so on and so forth of the Soviet era, that for which never really goes away, because you always have people and under diplomatic guises that act as double agents for other countries, as agent provocateurs or members of influence for financial or cultural gain and dominance. So this is I look at this the rainbow identity through the prism or the lens of transgenderism, which results in gender fluid identity without identity, and completely manipulable people, because you completely it's an excuse for not having accountability, the subjectivity. And again, I'm going to keep saying these things until the message gets through, because it doesn't matter how many times other intelligent people say these things on YouTube. Obviously, the echo chamber and breaking the fourth wall, so to speak, with other agencies in an attempt to have some sort of cooperation to just stop and arrest this negative behavior and this destructive means by which entropy happens and is exacerbated, this accelerationism, because without children there is no society, and if we're not having children, then we just fade away. And I don't want my fellow people to fade away. I don't. Okay, so again, this has to deal, this gender dysphoria definition has to do with the change, by my uneducated opinion, with the change from the DSM-4 to the DSM-5, and again, trying to manipulate people into this manufactured blinders on soldiers of fortune and identity to effect change and affect. to just basically do away with religion and spirituality, because spirituality and religion historically, if you look at the history of Europe, with the Catholic Church and say British royalty, has always been an issue of conflict, because control and of community. Hey, excuse me. Because this exacerbates body morphology and self-image, eating disorders, suicide attempts, actual suicides, and successful suicides, and the degradation of relationships, isolation. These are all, again, under the extraordinary warfare manual, the manifesto. So using the culture to gain influence, and also through, let's see, is it? Yes, extraordinary warfare, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. Extraordinary warfare, unrestricted warfare. So, I gotta save this here. For war, okay, unrestricted warfare, 2 Air Force senior colonels on scenarios for war and the operational art in an era of globalization. And it's increasingly clear. This was published in 1999. Yeah, that's right, correct. So as I said, within the last 23 years, I want, a lot of myself and other people, I've just completely watched the thing, screech to a halt. And every utilization and implementation and application of communism beyond trade unions, right, for collective bargaining, results in genocide, and it results in the complete removal of the intellectual class and of the the intelligista is another term for it, and completely hurts every single person. That's not just the people that are eliminated, but also the rest of the world, because we lose some sort of wealth, and we lose a depth of humanity that we'll never have again. That's the fact of the matter. Again, approaching things as from a historical lens, and with a bit of anthropology mixed in there, and watching things cycle and evolve and devolve, as is humanity. So we're getting to 38 minutes here, and so the gist of it is, every wave is new wave.